Hi, and welcome to the third episode of What Does the Fox Say? My name is Daniel Fox. Two of the most common questions I get asked when people learn that I do solo wilderness expeditions. One is about solitude, how I cope being by myself in the middle of nowhere for long extended period of time. Do I get lonely? And the other is about fear. Do I get afraid? Being in the wild with large wild animals roaming around, what if something happens? What if I get caught into a storm? What if I break something? And I had planned on talking about this topic in a couple weeks, but considering the state of affairs, I feel that the insights that I've gotten from nature might help process and manage the culture of fear that we find ourselves today. There's a big difference between dangers and fear. Dangers are real. There's a tangible aspect to them. You can quantify them, measure them, analyze them, and you can find solutions so that you can deal with them. Fear is our interpretation of those dangers. And those interpretations are rooted in cultural and personal perspective. From past experiences we have and our own definition of comfort zone. I often wonder how some of the tragedies of the past would have been experienced had social media existed back then. It's fair to say that the coronavirus is the first outbreak to happen in fully immersed in the world dominated by Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where information spreads without any editorial oversight. When SARS happened in 2003, Facebook wasn't even public yet. The last flu pandemic, when 210,000 people died in 2009, Facebook had 300 million users. Today, Facebook has 2.5 billion users. Every single day, there are 460 million status updates. More than 211 million photos are uploaded. 78 million links are shared. And there are more than 8 billion video views. Twitter's 300 million users create more than 500 million tweets every single day. Add in to the mix the fact that our trust in leaders and experts has reached a record low level, that tribalism has become the dominating social structure, that you can find online factual reports on any imaginable conspiracies, that we have a cultural belief that the way we experience the world means that it's real, so emotions over facts, that technology has created this illusion that we can live in the world of zero risk, and you tightly wrapped all those ingredients into an economic model that prioritizes fear and battles for your attention without any ethics and at any cost. And you start to understand the current hysteria that is happening. There's a reason why you want a captain at the helm of a boat during a storm. You don't want the passengers who are sick in their cabin thinking it's the end of the world being in charge. You want someone who's been there before. You want someone who can tell you that while it sucks, it's gonna be okay. You want someone who can reassure you while at the same time recognizing the dangers. One of the things that worries me the most is the long-term impact of those crises, the roller coaster effects that pushes people into opposite camps and reinforces tribalisms. The tendency that we have to dismiss and disconnect when the threat doesn't match the damage. When we cry wolf and a puppy shows up. The definition of an allergy is when your body overreacts to a foreign organisms. It doesn't trust its immune system to deal with it, so it compensates and just go haywire. This is what our society right now is having with the coronavirus. We're having an allergic reaction. We don't trust our own mechanism to deal with this foreign invader, so we're going in overdrive, compensating, and in the process creating panic and a lot of damage. In recent days, there's been a backlash every time numbers about the flu and other causes of death are brought to the table. The argument is that this time it might be different and it's better to be safe than sorry. I personally disagree with that. The purpose with bringing context and perspective with these numbers is to help us assess the gravity of the situation and act accordingly. Nearly 1.25 million people die each year in car crashes. That is an average of 3,287 deaths every single day. An additional 20 to 50 million injured or disabled. Half of those accidents happen among men between 15 and 44 years old. In 2018, there were 5 fatal shark accidents versus 300 toasters related death in the United States alone. These numbers don't dismiss the dangers, but they force us to reevaluate our fears. Last year, there were 390,000 accidents because of texting and driving. That is 1,070 accidents every single day. And yet, we still text and drive. I'm not saying that there isn't a danger with coronavirus. There is, and proper measures need to be put in place. Just like putting a seatbelt and respecting the speed limit when you drive. Coronavirus is an issue that we have to address. It's spreading, and we have to deal with it. But you still have a death mortality that is lower than some of the realities we've accepted to live with. And we have to be careful about the unintended consequences and damages it could have. I remember when I lived in Argentina, I was hanging out with these Gauchos, the equivalent of American cowboy. We were in these flooded plains and there were alligators, snakes, all kinds of scary stuff everywhere. It was like the threat of death all around us. Our group was freaking out, and yet the Gauchos were totally relaxed. That was their comfort zone. In fact, they were telling us that we were the crazy ones because we lived in cities with cars zooming by and accidents left and right. Their fear was at the total opposite of our fears. Some of you might remember the movie Golden Compass with Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman. There's a scene in the movie where Lydia the little girl, is riding on the back of a polar bear, and they're witnessing the witches heading to war. And Lydia says to the bear,
Are you afraid?
No. When I am, I will master my fear.
every time I'm out on expeditions, I can't let my fears dictate my actions. I have to assess the dangers for what they really are and act accordingly. I have to face the fact that I will overreact by applying my own perspective. It's then that I understand the fine balance between risk and discovery, between living in fear and seeking new experiences. I want my life, and I want the world, humankind, to be able to negotiate and deal with the unexpected and become better and stronger. Because right now, this hysteria reminds me of an allergic reaction to peanuts. Yes, it can be deadly, but the reason why we're there is because we've isolated ourselves into a corner that has no longevity. So be careful, wash your hands, be mindful of others, but don't stop living. Just stop, breathe, relax, listen. See you next week.